It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. On this Solstice Day, 2020, yep, the winter solstice arrived at 4:02 this morning, Central Time. That was the moment of solstice. I thought about setting my alarm last night when I went to bed so I could be up for the solstice. But I thought, no, I'm going to let fate determine whether or not I'm awake. I just trusted that I would wake up. And I did. I woke up about 3:30, very happily, and just sort of sat with the moment, with the anticipation. Turned on the lights on the little Christmas tree I bought yesterday. I did finally get a tree. And it was very pleasant. If I have a religion, this is it. The winter solstice especially. And that moment. I like to be a part of it. Of course, you know, this is when the sun appears the lowest in the northern hemisphere sky and is at its farthest southern point over the Earth, directly over the Tropic of Capricorn. Taking my crib notes here from ecowatch.com. Of course, it's the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. The shortest day in the year for those of us in the north, but all of us see the sun directly over us at noon local time. So I enjoyed my moment of solstice. I love that it happens for all of us at the exact same time. It doesn't roll with the time zones like sunset or sunrise. And a lot of folks will have ceremonies for the solstice sunset, mostly for the solstice sunrise at their own local time. And you get together and have songs and stories and rituals. I think that's great. And I've participated in those in the past. But I especially enjoy the solitude, the oneness with the cosmos, if you will, at that exact moment of solstice. That's, well, for me anyway, that's my holiest time of the year. You know me, I'm an atheist. But being an atheist doesn't preclude one from being in awe of the beauty and the unity of nature, especially as it extends through the galaxies and the universe. Yeah, I'm into it. I love it.
When I was a boy, how I loved Christmas time. I reveled in all of its glory. The presents, the music, the lights and the love, and the wonder of God's greatest story. But as I grew wiser, I questioned my faith. Science and reason took hold. Afraid each December that lonely I'd be, an agnostic left out in the cold. So I turned to my teachers, my books, and my mind. I wrestled with all of my fear, and I learned a great lesson that comforts me now at this most precious time of the year. From the earliest stirrings of humans on earth, we looked up to the sun and the moon. Our ancestors feared the long cold winter nights would relentlessly fashion their doom. They lit fires and torches, they tended the Yule, they weathered the longest night, and on winter solstice they danced and they sang when the darkness gave way to the light. It's from this old story, which all of us share, that religions and fantasies grew. Though preachers and merchants may try to lay claim, the story lives on inside you. Now I'm an agnostic who loves Christmas time. I revel in all of its glory, the presents, the music, the lights and the love, and the wonder of our greatest story.
I think they've been doing this for the last couple of years. There's a live stream from Stonehenge on the winter solstice. And of course, as you know, that's what Stonehenge is all about, and many other examples of ancient architecture built to track and capture the celestial moments that mark not only our time, but our relationship as earthlings with the sun and the stars. So, being of Northern European descent, Scots-Irish, I have an affinity for Stonehenge, and I thought, well, I've never looked into this live stream. I thought I would this year. I didn't do it at the moment of solstice. I wanted that to be pure. I wanted that just to be just me and the universe. I didn't want any technology mediating that. But at about 4:20 my time, clicked on to the Stonehenge live stream, and it was quite beautiful. And I watched for a while, and they had some very pleasant sort of New Age music going on in the background. Just a still shot of the sun rising over Stonehenge. And I noticed how low the sun was. This was about 20 minutes past the moment of solstice. And I noticed on the live stream I was watching that the sun seemed to be only about 20 minutes over the horizon at Stonehenge, still shining through the openings of the great monument. And I guess I wasn't thinking very clearly, kind of in my spiritual stupor. I just thought how beautiful this is, and it was quite beautiful. Perfectly clear sky, sun shining. And I thought, well, okay, it's 20 minutes over the horizon, the sun is, which means sunrise was 20 minutes ago, right at the moment of solstice? That's when the sun rose over Stonehenge? Well, that's quite a coincidence. How is it that the exact moment of sunrise matched the exact moment of the winter solstice at Stonehenge? And as I thought about it for a second, I realized, well, it can't. And I thought, what's the time difference here between myself and what I'm looking at? So I did a quick search because I didn't remember. It's a 6-hour time difference. So it's now about 4:22 my time, and it's 10:22 in the morning over there. I thought, okay, and now I'm finally getting it. They're lying to me on this live stream. The sun didn't rise at 10 a.m. No. It rose at the regular time. So they just had manipulated this live stream to show me sunrise at the moment of solstice. So, okay, now I get it. It didn't diminish from its beauty, but made me all the more glad that I decided to wait to bring technology into this moment. I made the right decision to leave technology out of it because they duped me just for a minute till I woke up fully and realized what they were doing. And then I found another live stream that was more honest. This was now the recording of the live stream afterwards. You know how that works. This was live, and here's the whole thing, a couple of hours worth. And I find out that sunrise over Stonehenge today was much less dramatic. Never really saw the sun at all. Very cloudy, very overcast today. So nothing like the little dramatic scene I saw. So, happy solstice. I love it because it carries with it all the best instincts of our indigenous ancestors. And we all have indigenous ancestors. Some of us have moved quite far from our original homes. My heritage goes back to Northern Europe, British Isles, Scandinavia. That's where my folks come from. But as we've learned over the years, all the indigenous cultures, so much overlap. They share so much, whether it's European or African or right here. Certainly ignorant of the hard sciences, knowing exactly what was going on with the specificity scientists can tell us today. That's fun, too, to know all about that. The fact we're moving at, I think it's 800 million miles an hour we're traveling at this moment as we speak. And that's all well and good. And sure, the ancients were ignorant of exactly what was happening. But oh, the wisdom of honoring, cherishing, and recognizing the earth and the skies and the sun and the stars and the moon, indigenous peoples, and without romanticizing, just from what we've learned, both through history, archaeology, and as well as our indigenous friends and neighbors who have been able, against all odds, to keep the religion, philosophy, customs, stories alive over millennia. That's a pretty impressive thing that they've done. So without romanticizing, I think there's just a lot to be said about indigenous wisdom from all corners of the globe. And in that understanding of the relationship between humans and the earth and the water and sky and non-human animals came customs and practices, both practical and creative. Wonderful traditions of storytelling, of ceremony, and then rich, valuable knowledge about natural medicines, about sustainable growing. So, the winter solstice every year reminds me of these things and makes me happy. But also drives me a little crazy when it reminds me of how far we've strayed, how incredibly anthropocentric we've become. And two of the greatest issues of our day just staring us right in the face, begging us to face them with some understanding. The pandemic and climate change, which many of us keep talking about in the same breath, because the two problems are so closely intertwined. They share the same source and require the same solutions. There's a great piece, an opinion piece in the Globe and Mail this week that my friend Lisanne shared. By the way, do you have one of those friends, maybe a couple, who are just the very best curators and their posts are just guaranteed every time to be great? I just love everything she posts, and I will often share them. Yeah, that's Lisanne for me. Thank you, Lisanne. Anyway, opinion. Headline: The real cure for COVID is renewing our fractured relationship with the planet. James Maskalik and Dave Crucini. I wish I could read it to you, but I'm not a subscriber, and I'm past my limit. I would love to read it to you, but instead I'll just have to share it on the Charles Purcell Facebook page. And if you haven't been to the Globe and Mail recently, you'll be able to read it. They let you read a couple of articles free. But simply put, as we remove ourselves from nature, as we exploit nature, damage the natural habitat of our non-human partners on this planet, and then even worse, butcher and eat our non-human partners, well, we've done it all in such a careless way that we have created conditions under which new and virulent viruses can just have a field day. The way we treat our own bodies, the kinds of toxins we consume every single day, make ourselves more susceptible. So we're living now through a pandemic which is sure to be the first of many, unless we find and accept the greater truth about this whole thing. And of course, it's quite literally exactly the same problem as climate change. It's not a metaphor, it's not an analogy. We're talking about the exact same problem. As we put ourselves at the center of the universe, and every other living thing in it is there for our exploitation, our consumption, our enjoyment, our pleasure. This is why I love the solstice so much. It's the most direct and succinct reminder that we're just part of this very complex system, this beautiful, intricately woven, impossibly complex system, which makes the idea that we could harness it all that more pathetic and ridiculous. Understanding, accepting, honoring, cherishing that relationship is not only the best way to live, it's the only way to live. So, of course, every moment in time is equally special, holy. Our relationship with the natural world and with the universe is always here. It's always real. It doesn't arrive once a year on December 21st. But that moment at 4:02 a.m. this morning, my time, for me is the most beautiful, crystalline moment of clarity, defining with precision that relationship, that balance. Oh, but how we've strayed. We couldn't be further from that understanding. We absolutely could not be further from honoring that relationship with the way we conduct ourselves day to day. And as 2020 comes to a close, and we face some of the biggest challenges of our lives, COVID, brutality, the uprisings over racial injustice, the continued runaway train of the climate crisis, the crushing economic disparities, sending millions into hunger and poverty. How are we not learning the lessons? How, in God's name, can we enter a new year having learned exactly nothing? A lot of us spoke hopefully about the lessons we'd learned from this pandemic. So much commentary about how there is no going back to normal, the way we conduct business, those who are deemed essential, the infrastructure of supply chains and the response to emergencies, disasters, and the complete, total, proven inadequacy of capitalism to meet these challenges. Some of us were hopeful that the pandemic, for all of its tragic consequences, would at least teach us to abandon old systems, to move forward with new ideas. But no, it's not happening. A lot of us thought the brutal truths learned about the brutality of the police state, the racial disparities too easily set aside by the deniers in the past. We thought, well, as horrible as the murder of George Floyd was, as horrible as the murder of Breonna Taylor, at least through this tragic loss, can we find some redemption? Can we move forward with a new way of thinking? Can these horrors at least be a catalyst for a new way of thinking, a new way of operating, a catalyst for finally facing the sin of racism and doing something about it? We had hope. But again, we've seemed to learn nothing. No fundamental change at the level required, as I use the word fundamental quite literally. And the exact same scenario is playing out for the exact same reasons in the ultimate of all of our challenges, the climate crisis. And still we seem to learn nothing. My well-meaning friends are gently badgering me to get on the Joe Biden bandwagon. Last week he rolled out his climate team. Oh, everybody's so excited. The fact that he has a climate team, of course, is a complete 180 from the previous administration, for which I'm grateful. But this headline from Slate that I saw the other day tells it all. Headline: with a single climate initiative, Biden could generate $4 trillion for green investment. You guys, we can't invest our way out of this problem. Buying, selling, investing, the very fact of them, the very existence of such a system, is the very core of the problem they purport to solve. What's the old saying? When all you have is a hammer, you treat everything as a nail. Our hammer, our only tool in the kit, our solution for everything is money, is profit, is buying, is selling, investing, economic growth. When what we need is precisely the opposite. We need to stop seeing each other and the planet and everything on it as opportunities for profit. That's what got us here. How have we not yet learned that the very concept of economic growth is the granddaddy of all fallacies? The only solution to the climate crisis is a whole new approach to our relationship with the earth and with each other. The exact opposite of our current model. It's exactly why we failed in the face of the pandemic. It's why we keep failing at racial and economic justice. And it's why climate crisis will continue to accelerate. Why biodiversity, the protection of species, entire ecosystems will continue to degrade, to erode, until there's nothing left. And it's just so frustrating because the problems have been so clearly defined, but somehow we find the solutions just too much to ask, as though it's just too late. We're just inextricably tied, clinging desperately to our position at the center of the universe, where it's our right, our privilege, our prerogative to exploit everything else on earth for our own gain. Not only everything else, but everyone else. Real solutions require cooperation over competition. They require zero growth, negative growth. Real solutions require a cost-benefit analysis that include the real and tangible costs and benefits to every living thing on this planet, and not just the monetary costs and benefits of those who may or may not profit. So the very idea that we could buy or invest our way out of the climate crisis, or for that matter any other problem we face, is just comically, tragically mistaken, ridiculous, absurd on its face. And all the more infuriating because the real solutions are right in front of us. They're right at our fingertips. Real solutions are right there waiting for us in indigenous wisdom, ready to be accepted, ready to be utilized, to be enacted. I'm talking real, tangible, practical solutions. I'm not talking metaphor. I'm not talking utopia. Alternate systems, diametrically different from our current path, are just waiting for us to accept them, to embrace them. If only we could understand that. And the moment of solstice is the ideal moment to recognize this, to leave the past behind, and to move forward into a new world. Not a dream, not a utopia, not a metaphor, not a hope. No, an actual, living, breathing, hands-on, face-to-face, real world. Just like this relationship between the earth and the sun, the way we rotate on our axis, the way we orbit around the sun, while we in the solar system, and along with all of our neighboring galaxies, barrel through the universe at 800 million miles an hour. It's also very real. It doesn't require an imaginary God. It doesn't require an artist's dream or a writer's imagination. As wonderful as those things are, it's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about hard reality, about hard choices in the face of scientific fact. We cling to this idea that somehow we're superior to our ancient ancestors. We're the ones clinging to mythology, the mythology of money, of profit, the mythology of our human-centric story of this world. We're the ones clinging to myth. Our indigenous ancestors knew how to live practically and productively on this planet, and they still do. And it's not too late for us to toss away our childish myths and to embrace the simple yet profound ideas that we've lost, but will move us forward if we choose them. So that's what's on my mind on this day of the solstice. And with the return of the light, let's hope we can also have a return to our senses. I'm Charles Purcell.